You've spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Stop it right now.
No, come on.
Happy Valentine's Day.
How is Arizona? How is the Waste Management Tour?
That place is a lot.
Yeah, so how many people were down there? Did you get any stats here that we can share with the audience?
Billions, I think. Billions. It felt like billions. There were people everywhere. There were so many people in the airport yesterday that all the news crews were there just to see how people felt about how many people were in the airport yesterday.
Wow.
There were people everywhere. And yet I still kept running into people I knew all over Arizona. It was crazy.
That's awesome. It's amazing that city can take that infrastructure, and it's something for Kansas City to admire, to host those two major national events all at once. Has to be nuts.
It was nuts. It was fun though. It was a good time. How are you?
Doing good. I was going to say, with the help of Burns & McDonnell and Bank of Blue Valley, Kansas City can continue to build that infrastructure. So doing well. I'm excited for the parade tomorrow. We were talking with the panelists that everyone's here to see about it. And, a lot of people are a little peopled out. I mean, it's a lot of seeing each other, but, it should be something super exciting. And the weather is going to be 43 degrees when the parade starts at noon.
Yeah, I'm going to take my kiddos down there tomorrow. Our old office was on the parade route, so I'm a little sad that we've moved because that was like perfect, right, last time. But it should be a good time. My kids are old enough that we can navigate it pretty well.
Yeah. Are you going to park at your office and then Uber?
I don't think anybody's going to be able to get an Uber tomorrow. No. I've got plans. I'm not going to say my plans here because I don't want anyone to take my plans.
I agree. I had people from my children's daycare that caught word that we were going to the parade, and I was actually told by my parking spot I'm not allowed to tell anyone. So
right, yeah, no,
enough,
I got some plans. I got some plans. Hey, I want to talk about something really fast because I think that we both get people reach out to us a lot about live shows since we've
I point them to you.
You point them to me, and then they reach out to me, and they want to pick my brain, which is my least favorite thing to do. If you ever end up in my inbox saying, can I pick your brain? I'm just going to delete your email. That's a side note. But I do have something really awesome. So if you go over to the Lillian James Creative page, you'll see right at the top, we have an event pinned. We actually have Cher Jones, who works for LinkedIn. She teaches the LinkedIn live courses, how to have a good live show on the back end of LinkedIn. For LinkedIn itself. We actually have Cher Jones coming into town March 7th, and she's doing a lunch and learn down at our office. There are limited seats available, but she is kind of the queen of live shows. She's coming in from Toronto to Kansas City, which is a huge deal. She has hundreds of thousands of followers. She's coming to teach how to do live shows. So if you are at all interested in the live game, whether it be on LinkedIn or TikTok or wherever, understanding what makes a good live show, how to book guests, how to go live, even the fact like for LinkedIn, you have to use a third-party software, how to choose the right software. Make sure you go book a ticket for that. I don't really promote our stuff a lot, but this is such a big deal in the live space that I wanted to make sure people knew here. All right. If you're watching the show, please jump over here in our comments. Let us know. Are you watching on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn? We have a great panel, so I know we have a lot of people doing that. You guys got anything special planned for Valentine's Day today?
Taking the kiddos out, but I do want to say that Burns McDonnell and Bank of Blue Valley allow us to do this. But the two things that Erin throws fastballs at, no sports pun intended, is TikTok and LinkedIn live shows. She does many things well, but definitely take advantage of it. She did not buy me any wine to say that.
I appreciate it. Mitch says, Cher is legit. Had the pleasure of learning from her recently. She did. She did me one more favor. One other favor. She came and Mitch was in my cohort, my marketing cohort. And I'm very lucky because she's one of my best friends.
Mitch has some great hair in that LinkedIn picture. You know, he
does have some good hair.
Good flow.
Hi, Mitch. Thanks for watching. Okay, everyone else jump in here. Big Blue Valley, Birds McDonnell do allow us to have an awesome show. We have an absolutely great panel today. So I'm excited to get them in there. One of my besties is on today. I barely said hi to her in the pre-show because I was trying to get some stuff done so we could go live. So I'm going to say hi to her when she comes. She would look at me like, what? But I'm so excited about today's panel. Are you?
I can. You hate me because I'm still logged on, so I can see people smiling when you.
I'm coming to your house to unlog you.
You have to. I can't do it.
One day it's going to kick me out, and you're not going to be able to run the show.
That's true.
All right, here we go. We're going to go by ladies first on how they got here. Gina! Becky Moussavi, Maki, and Mark. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
All right, jump in. You guys have all been here before. This is really fun. We're just going to jump right in. Gina, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Hey there, Gina Kaberline with Fairway Mortgage. I'm a loan officer. I've been here in Kansas City for about 20 years, originally from a small central Kansas farming community, made my way through K-State, several other states, and then here to the Metro.
So when you made your way to the Metro, where does your career start and what are you doing today?
Yes, so actually I worked for the nation's largest plumbing wholesaler, Ferguson Enterprises, right out of graduation from K-State. Went to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, took a promotion to Wichita, then down to Baton Rouge because that's the standard progression, right? And then from there moved to Olathe and worked for the company a total of almost 20 years. At the end of 20 years, I decided kind of ready for something new. There was some kind of restructuring going on in the district, and I never had planned to be in the plumbing industry for almost 20 years to start with. So kind of a windy path, became a marketing coordinator for a loan officer, and then became a loan officer myself and have now been doing that for about 5.5 years.
That's amazing. And thank you for double dressing up for Valentine's Day and the Chiefs. What do you see to educate our audience in terms of what you see happening on a local and national level?
So locally and nationally, really, we are in the midst of a housing shortage. And it's probably only going to get more extreme as our millennial population is aging into the highest home buyer ownership age. So that is going to continue. Now is a fantastic time to buy a house. Yes, rates are in the 6s and higher than we've seen them for a while, but that's keeping some people on the sidelines. And so you get a chance to get in a home you love without as much competition as there will be this spring. And then the expectation is that rates are going to go down, probably late Q3, early Q4. We get you refinanced and you're in your home already building equity.
Okay, so one of the things I like that Fairway does, because I'm a marketing girl and I do some work with you guys. One of the things I like that you guys do is you guys put a lot into your marketing and continuing to educate your realtors, right? To get them in there to make sure that everybody's on the same page. How does that work? I mean, you're always involved with all of that stuff. So can you kind of talk about how you guys decided to add value to the, because I hadn't seen anyone else really do that besides you guys, where you're always adding value so they can go out and do their job. And obviously as a byproduct, they use you more as they do their job. But how did you guys come up with that strategy, and how do you continue to stay on top of that? Even when you're not as busy as ever, but you guys were also doing it when you're busy. Both times you're adding value.
Yeah, so really it does come from a place of adding value. You know, to go to a realtor and ask, hey, do you have any business, any clients that I can pre-approve? It just isn't a good feeling. We want to give first. And so the idea is kind of to teach somebody how to fish so that their business grows, which as you said, is a byproduct for us. So we do a lot of kind of education things, whether it is with social media, and I know we've had your help several times in the past offering some really great training for realtors, appraiser events, question and answer events where they can talk to an appraiser and understand kind of how the business works, with the market statistics and what's going on in the market, so that they can make sure they've got a really good handle on that, both at a national level and a local level. So really just coming from a place of adding value and being different. Anybody can throw out a rate and take a loan app, but what can we offer that makes us stand out for both the clients and the realtors?
I'm actually doing a training there Thursday.
Yeah, I've got it on my calendar. I'll see you there.
Paul says he is here watching loyally on LinkedIn. Awesome. All right. Well, we're excited to have you back, Gina. Stephanie, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Well, I am Stephanie Say. I'm CEO of Sage Restoration, and I moved to Kansas City about 46 years ago. So I consider myself basically, Kansas City native, native of Kansas City, what have you. I moved here, gosh, I think I was getting into high school is when I moved here. So I like Kansas City. I love to travel and go other places, but it's been a good city for me and my family.
So Stephanie, one thing that I like.
And then, you want me to tell me a little bit about go ahead.
No, I wanted you to tell me background.
So yeah, anyway, I went to UMKC, so go Roos. I was a marketing major, and most of my career I've spent doing outside sales. I've been in pharmaceuticals, some other types of sales. I was a stay-at-home mother for a while. And then I actually got into the mortgage industry, which I absolutely adored. I sold wholesale loan products to mortgage brokers. And I was making great money. And then the economy went, in 2009. And so I went a different direction. I ended up working, selling high interest title loans for City Financial out in Gardner. And that was just kind of a miserable place to be for me. Anyway, it was kind of depressing, actually. And so I went to my husband, and he had a corporate job. And I said, hey, let's look at starting our own business. And I'd always liked working with homeowners. And so we liked the idea of getting into restoration, helping homeowners when they were under distress with flooded homes or fire damaged houses, what have you. So we bought the business together. He kept his corporate job so that we would have some income coming in the door. And then I went away for the training in a huge male-dominated industry. And several of the men said that I would never, ever last. And here I am going on 13 years later. So I'm really proud of what we've accomplished together. So I basically came back from training, and it's a really physically demanding industry, to say the least. But I hit the ground running. We had no accounts. We were not a big franchise that was just given work. And I actually started calling on realtors because I was pretty familiar with them, being from the mortgage industry. And that's how we really kind of stayed in business in the beginning, because it was hard to get our hands on a lot of commercial and insurance-based work. So that's kind of our background. And we have really gone from a one-woman show, believe it or not. A lot of people don't believe that, with maybe a few part-time people helping me in the beginning, to I think we have 15 employees now and numerous trucks driving all over the city. So we've come a long ways in going on 13 years.
That's amazing. I love how you gave context of holistically the whole story of where it started and where it's been. So I was going to prod you on that. But another question I'll ask for the audience: why has this winter been so good for your business?
Oh, wow. Last year was a tough year for most small business owners, to say the least, for various different challenges out there. But with the cold frigid temperature. Yeah, we really started the year out with a bang, and it was tough having to run our crews over the holidays, but we were truly, truly blessed to be able to help out a lot of commercial building owners that had, flooded buildings and a lot of water damage. So yeah, this year has started out awesome. So we're truly thankful and blessed for that. So yeah, we're still on a roll. We're still finishing up. This year last year we added on repairs to our work. So not only do we do mitigation work, which is the cleanup work, we also can handle all the rebuild, repairs, and that kind of work that goes along with when we go in and tear stuff up that has to be taken out, or somebody has a house fire. We can do the whole job start to finish. And recently we've also added on doing content cleaning and textiles cleaning as well. So for instance, if you have a house fire, traditionally, a lot of times you're going to have to deal with a different contractor for each phase of that type of work. So you may be dealing with 4 to 5 different contractors. Where if you deal with Sage, you can just deal with one contractor. So we come in and take care of everything start to finish, which is a huge relief for adjusters because it's less contractors they have to work with, and especially beneficial for the homeowners because they know they can call our project managers and get all of their questions answered. So we're really proud of how far we've come along in the last several years, especially with adding on my son, Connor. He came on board with us and has really grown with the company and has really got out there, and he learned all the operations. He heads that up, but he also has really dived into the business development and has done a great job establishing us in the commercial sector. So we're really proud of where we're at.
Aaron, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Said if we're being a little, that's because my dog was barking, sorry. We're being a little weird. There's a little pause delay on your Wi-Fi. So that's why we kept trying to jump in.
Oh, okay.
Maki, who are you? What do you do? And how do you come to Kansas City?
Okay, I'm Maki Moussavi. I'm a mindset and executive coach. And I grew up in Manhattan, Kansas, and went to K-State. So Gina, yay, go K-State. And then I went to the University of Minnesota for graduate school. So I went from, Manhattan to the Twin Cities. And then after the Twin Cities, I actually moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area for a little while. So very similar there again. And then when I figured out that wasn't really the place for me with the profession that I was in, I went to school for genetic counseling. My husband and I made a joint decision to come to Kansas City because we had such a great network here just because of where we'd been to school and, the people that we were connected with. And so from here, I had my degree in genetic counseling, worked at KU Medical Center for a little while. Then I ended up working at Cerner and did a big stint there. That was my corporate career for almost 14 years. And it was when I was there that I recognized that I just wasn't in the right space. I knew for years, like, hey, something's not right. I've got everything I've always wanted, success, my family, my friends, everything's wonderful. And yet, like, I just do not feel fulfilled, satisfied, happy in any way. So I had to go on this really big kind of detour of personal development to figure out what the heck was going on with me. And I was observing the people that I worked with and saw, there were just so many smart, talented people that I was working with who were in very similar mental space of being very successful and accomplished, but not really feeling a lot of fulfillment from that. And once I recognized what it took for me to kind of work my way through the conditioning that we have around what it means to be successful and, being a type A high achieving person who's very goal oriented, that got me to the place where I had the things that I had, but it wasn't actually fulfilling any deeper need that I had to feel like good about what I was doing. Once I figured that out, there were so many ties to the work I did as a genetic counselor, just taking, complex information, helping people digest it and do something with it, kind of helping them through basically a crisis situation, which is where a lot of my clients find themselves. It's not a crisis on the surface, like everything looks great, just like it did for me, but mentally and emotionally, they feel like they're in crisis because they feel lost or very dissatisfied and just like something has to change. So I made a decision after I kind of felt like I unlocked a bit of a formula around what it's like to be a type A high achieving person inside of a corporate structure, how we get stuck there, what it takes to get out of there. I wanted to help other people do the same thing. So that was when I decided to leave my corporate job behind 5 years ago and start doing what I'm doing now.
One thing that I think the audience would benefit from is kind of your journey after leaving Cerner to being one of the more well-known people in Kansas City for what you do and being very recognizable. How did that journey start? How long has it been? And, you know, if someone's looking to accomplish what you've accomplished, how would you give them that advice?
Gosh, that's a good question. So I would say that one of the things I had going for me was that I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I think that when you overthink things sometimes and you know too much about what you're getting into, it might stop you. But one of the things that I did was really embrace meeting a lot of people, because up to that point, my network was so limited to my corporate, you know, network of people that wasn't really necessarily going to translate to what I was doing next. And that meant I had to be willing to get kind of uncomfortable. You know, one of the very first things I did, and it's actually how Erin and I met in 2017, was I decided to start speaking. You know, I was like, well, I got to get up in front of a group. I got to let people know what I do. And so that was one of the first things that I did. And I started identifying and reaching out to people proactively that I thought would be good to know because of what they had accomplished and where they were with their careers. And then along with that, you know, I did some other things. So I've written and published a book that came out in 2019 called The High Achievers Guide. And there was a lot of promotional effort I had to put behind that really kind of forced me once again to be in front of people, connecting, offering, you know, services to people to help me get over that hump with getting some books sold. And I believe that one of the things that is so key is to go into conversations with people without an agenda. You know, one of the things that I really embraced was just, I want to know people. I don't have an expectation that just meeting them and knowing them is going to result in something right away. But foundationally, I just really believe that there's so many of us that want to be helpful to one another. So I always go into every one of those conversations with, I wonder how I can help the person that I'm meeting with. I wonder, you know, if there's anything there around synergies or things that will lead to other introductions. And to be really honest, that's how it's all happened. It's been very organic. I know Erin is not a huge fan of my approach because she's like, social media, you're not on it enough. And we definitely have our debates around that because that's not a natural fit for just how I like to connect with people. But I would say for me, what's been really key is being willing to be in front of people, to share a message and to meet as many people as I can and to be as of much service to those people as I can in the process.
We do go back and forth.
Did you guys hang out with each other in Dallas by any chance?
No, but we became friends in 2017, so we've been friends for a long time. We're both very opinionated friends, so it's fun. Fun. One of my favorites. He says, "Great advice. Great advice." Maki Moussavi. I think the other part she meant to say is, "I'd love to see that on LinkedIn sometimes."
Oh, got it.
I know. Here's really the thing, nice. I just know because when people find out I'm friends with Maki, they're like, it automatically makes me more popular to them. So I just know, like, really, she'd just kill it if she put it out there, right? That's why I've always honored her about that. But you do a lot of speaking. Mm-hmm. Still, where can people get your book?
So you can get it on Amazon, The High Achievers Guide. Amazon, my website, I have a little link for the book. Anywhere that the books are sold, you can find it and get it. It's got a lot of homework in it because I know that it's really easy to consume things that make you feel kind of energized and galvanized, but then you don't really know what to do next. And so I was very deliberate about putting like, here's what you do now. Stop, do all these things before you move on. And I will say that that's probably been one of the most gratifying things about my work because I never had an intention to write a book in order to bring clients to me. I actually did it because I knew that there are people in the world who could benefit from hearing that content, but that I would never meet. And so for me, one of the most gratifying things is just when I do hear from people, sometimes people I've never met, and they just say like, this was what I needed at the time that I needed it. And that for me is just, you know, it feels good to feel like the mission or the purpose behind why I decided to take the risk that I did has a payoff for other people. So yeah, if you're looking to make a big change in your life, if you're just like, hey, where I'm at, there's a lot of things that are good about it, but it's just not cutting it for me, then it's a great book to pick up and read.
And it's got 5-star reviews.
Yeah, I wish you had it by your computer. Because
I know, I'm so bad about
I kept looking over.
Book.
It must be. Oh, actually, hold on.
Aaron might have
Oh,
one.
look at this! This has never been done on over
The
100
benefit
shows.
of
Look at
having
that.
the host be your friend, right?
It says truly a practical guide to achieving a more fulfilling life. The High Achievers Guide was dead on and gave me a much needed lift. These are just Amazon reviews. I just Googled real quick. So I do want to say one thing that she won't say because she's too humble. Also why she won't post on LinkedIn as much. A publisher published her. She did not self-publish, which is awesome to self-publish. But in that space it's hard to get a publisher in that, in that business space. And she did. And I was really proud and impressed with her.
Thank you, Erin.
You're welcome. Okay, Mark, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
Wow, that's a tough act to follow. All three of you. I get to, I guess, pick up the rear here. I'm Mark Mears, and I have my own consultancy called Leaf Growth Ventures, which is designed to help individuals, teams, and organizations find purpose in fulfilling their true growth potential, and in doing so, pay it backward to help others along their growth journey. I'm originally from Wichita. Went to KU, Rock Chalk, but I think we're all Chiefs fans here, so we can all sing Kumbaya here on Valentine's Day. But I did go to Northwestern for grad school, which the colors were purple and white, and the mascot was Wildcats. So I have that going for me. I got here through a circuitous route, being from Wichita originally and going to those places academically. I started my career in Dallas, and I went to Chicago, back to Dallas, to Atlanta, to Los Angeles, and Austin, Texas, and then here about 5.5 years ago.
And so the brands that you worked for, to give some highlights, and then we'll ask more questions, but give us the background of some of the brands you worked with and you helped design and grow.
Well, a few of them you may have heard of, maybe a few you haven't. I was with Pizza Hut in marketing in Wichita, and then worked on McDonald's at Leo Burnett and headed up the Frito-Lay business at DDB, which is an agency in Dallas, but then also was chief marketing officer for the Cheesecake Factory, Noodles and Company, and a few others along the way, as well as head of marketing and sales for Universal Studios Hollywood out in LA. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and but it's led me kind of where I feel home here in Kansas City.
Did you and Jeff Jones ever do work together when he was the CMO over at Target?
No, I know of Jeff, but no, we never did work together.
I guess I have a similar path.
Yeah,
he went to the CEO world, but
yeah, he's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were there many glory days? Like what do you look back on, and like, was it a time frame? Was it a brand? Where'd you have the most fun?
That's funny you say that, because I was just working on an article today for a magazine who's asked me to write something for them. And when I was with Pizza Hut, we had a leader named David Novak, who was the head of marketing. And then later he became the co-founder and CEO of Yum Brands when it was spun
Whoa.
off from PepsiCo. And so he was a CEO for about 10 years. And but probably the most charismatic and inspirational leader I've ever worked for. And he was an early mentor of mine, whether he knew it or not, but I wanted to be like him. And so I would say those early years at Pizza Hut, but then later when I was at the Cheesecake Factory, that was a culture that was second to none. I mean, imagine over 300 menu items, almost all of them made fresh from scratch every single day. The discipline and the excellence and the training that went behind that. Well, it was based on the vision of the founder and CEO who's still there, David Overton. So I picked up lessons along the way of, how to lead, how to manage people, how to inspire and motivate them to be their very best. And that's kind of led me to write the book that I wrote. But yeah, a lot of glory days, but also some major, screw ups on my behalf that I learned from, and some things that happened either to me or as a result of other activities that have really helped shape and mold my ethos. And so not all glory days, I assure you.
Okay, tell us about your book.
Funny you may ask, I might even have a copy right here.
There it is.
More prepared.
It's called The Purposeful Growth Revolution: 4 Ways to Grow from Leader to Legacy Builder. And it's based on, as a brand builder, I decided, physician heal thyself, I would write up my own personal brand plan. And I started with a purpose statement, which is, I don't want to just make money and retire. I want to make a difference and inspire. And that means making a difference in the lives of others and inspiring them to want to do likewise. So it creates this virtuous cycle of reciprocity, or as I coined the phrase in the book, pay it backward, to help others along their growth journey. And so it's a compilation of my own experiences, my observations of best practices of whom I admire, and also a curation of research and subject matter experts, thought leaders, and influencers that I've packaged in a way that I think is pretty unique, where it looks at a leaf as not only a metaphor for growth, as we all remember from high school science, at least I think I was not awake or asleep that day, I can't remember, but all growth happens through the leaf. And then I also thought of it as an acronym which stands for leadership, engagement, accountability, and fulfillment, which are 4 intertwined or integrated processes. Think about a 4-circle Venn diagram that all revolve around purposeful growth. And so it's a quick read. It's a big book, but a quick read. And hopefully it will inspire people to be better leaders who really look at leaving a living legacy, which means that every single day we get to make choices on how we use the hours in every day. I don't look at the word legacy as something that you leave behind or bequeath after you're gone. I look at it as something that you can leave in people every single day. And so that's really why I emphasize the idea of growing from leader to legacy builder. Now we're entering a new world of work. The idea of purpose is stronger and more powerful than ever before. We've all seen the statistics, and while some call it the great resignation, I call it the great repurposing. I think COVID gave us all a little time out to really reflect deeply on not only what, but who matters most in our lives. And nobody wants to go back. And I'm just listening to Maki. I mean, no one wants to go back to a toxic work environment. And the research suggests that's true. The Sloan Management School at MIT did a research study of 34 million people who left the workforce during the time of COVID. Asked a simple question, why? The number one answer, by 10 times more than the second most given answer, was toxic work environment, right? So leaders need to lead differently. COVID has acted as a bit of a catalytic event that has created a step function change in our society. And now I get a chance to opine with my thoughts on how people can be not only better leaders, but leave a living legacy to help others along their growth journey.
I would be interested to see that study on the age factor of that too, though. Right? Like, I think it would be very interesting to see how many people over 40 said toxic work environment versus under 25, right?
Oh, totally.
Interesting to me.
Yeah, and I've got all the information I can share with you, but you're right. The younger age of the millennial generation, and certainly Gen Z right behind them, and I've got 2 25-year-old daughters, and I can assure you their vision of what work could and should be is so much different than what it was when I was a young pup growing up. And the expectations are so different. And older workers have tolerated a command and control style of management for so long, they're kind of callous to it, and they're kind of counting their days. And yet younger people are like, no, this is not what I want from work. I want more purpose. I want to feel like I'm connected, like I belong to something that's bigger than just, punching in and out, getting paid every other week.
Right. That'd be interesting to see. Listen, I pulled up your reviews. You got 5-star reviews as well. A necessity for anyone in the business world, surprisingly spiritual yet fiscally sound, and exploration of ethical and uplifting business. So also could be found on Amazon because that's where I just found it.
And Mark, you're like, I got to read my own reviews.
Yeah.
Well, those are very kind. One thing I do want to say, though, if someone's really interested in what I just said, you really want to find where you stand on this whole idea of purpose, you can go to my website, which is markamears.com, and you can take a free self-assessment. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes, and then when you're done, you can download your results that are customized for you. And so you can find out where you are on this whole purposeful growth journey, and then also see how you are or maybe are not aligned with your organization. And that's really an incredible gift to find out, because if you wait too long and you just find yourself in a soul-sucking, job, you're really going to be jaded on work. Whereas, think about it, as adults, we are working a third of our lives and we're sleeping a third. That means we've only got a third of our life to really live and feel like we're accomplishing something purposeful. I don't believe so. I think if we can find purpose at work, now how much more fulfilling are our awake hours, and how much more alive are we going to feel, not just generating a paycheck.
All right. Well, go to his website, check it out. Let us know where you stand. All right. Now we're going to do the Burns and McDonnell question of the day, which usually in the pre-show I show you guys so that you know what's coming, but I did not show you because I forgot, because I was trying to catch up. So you guys pay attention. Nobody unmute yourself. It will unmute you after it's done. All right, here's our Burns and McDonnell question of the day. Right when it's done, Gina, you jump into your answer.
Hi, my name is Eric Heidenreich. I'm an engineering recruiter with Burns and McDonnell, looking for the best talent every day. We're all not perfect, but how do you handle mistakes?
So great question. I think the big piece about handling mistakes is to, one, understand that we're all going to make them. And, some mistakes are bigger than others, but it's really important to just discuss it with, so for example, I've got an assistant, and if she makes a mistake, I need to let her know so that that same mistake doesn't keep going. Because I don't think anybody makes mistakes on purpose. A lot of times it's either someone was rushing through, or they don't understand, or they just didn't get it right. So correcting that and just having a quick discussion, not an email or text, and that's how I usually handle it.
Stephanie, how do you handle mistakes?
Well, my father always told me, it's not wrong to make a mistake. It's important that you learn from your mistakes, and do your best not to repeat the mistakes. Because that's the problem, is when people keep making the same mistakes and don't correct the behavior or solve the problem or what have you. So I've always been pretty easy on myself. I try not to beat myself up too bad. I just know, as a leader in a company, you do have to, correct employees at times and help them not to repeat mistakes. But I look at mistakes as like a way of learning. That's how I look at making mistakes. And that we're all human and we're all going to make mistakes. But I don't know. I raised my kids with the same idea, because, and also I don't think that you achieve growth if you don't make mistakes. If we were all just perfect, we would all just be perfect, right? We would not be striving to be better and learning from things or challenges that come our way. So that's how I look at mistakes.
When you go on projects, I feel like it's very intense because you're coming to someone when there's a little bit of a disaster relief type deal for their business or where they live. How do you encourage people? Because I agree, you got to make mistakes to learn. Mm-hmm. But how do you how does that go with a new employee? Because it's very critical.
Yeah. Well, and, in hindsight, when I started out in the business and I had a huge, huge learning curve ahead of me, just to say the least. And I know I definitely made my share of mistakes because I had to learn on my own. You have training. Training is wonderful, but most people learn by doing. And along the way, you are going to make mistakes. But, like I said, I use those as a learning curve. Try not to repeat mistakes. And the thing too in our business is there's a lot of facets that we have to look at. We come on a scene of somebody has a flooded basement or, God forbid, a huge house fire. You need to be looking at a lot of different things. So it can be easy to make mistakes and overlook maybe a wet wall that you didn't catch that could have mold growing, behind the baseboards if you don't dry it out. So it is very important for us to not make mistakes. And so when we never send like new technicians out on a job by themselves. We do a lot of on the job training because that's how they're going to learn, because there's just so many things to look at. So that's our form of training to try to avoid mistakes, is that we have like a basic technician, and then we have a lead technician. And then we also have like a field supervisor that overlooks all the different jobs. And then we also have project managers that go out and look over the jobs, make sure they're being done right as well. So we have a lot of eyes on projects to try to avoid making those mistakes, if that makes sense.
No, definitely.
Maki, how about you?
Well, I think what I'll probably address is maybe from the perspective of most of the people I work with who are type A and high achieving is the fear of making a mistake. Because I think everything these other two ladies have said is really relevant. But I think one of the things that can really stop people from, like we're talking about, growing is being unwilling to take a risk and make a decision with the information that you have in front of you at the time. Because, and especially as Mark can attest to, when you're talking about work environments, whether or not there's a tolerance for people making mistakes or how that's handled is obviously a huge influence over that, right? Or how you were raised to think about making mistakes and how you were conditioned and programmed to talk to yourself when you make a mistake. Those are all really important things to look at. So I would say, like, for people who are about to make a decision, if that fear pops up, it's a really good opportunity to look at, like, what am I afraid of? What do I think is going to happen if this doesn't go the way that I want it to go? And then how will I handle it if it does not go the way that I want it to go, to kind of be prepared for taking the ownership and responsibility, but also treating a lot of things like an experiment. As a person with a science background, I know that most of the things that we have and enjoy from even just technology perspective is the result of countless mistakes and errors that are made on the road to getting to the thing that actually works. And so giving yourself that permission and leeway to look at, I don't have to treat this with fear and, trepidation around what it means to make a mistake. How can I look at changing the way that I react to feedback about a mistake that I've made, or how I think about it going into it, so that I can make the most of the opportunity, whether it's because I learned it worked and I learned that taking a risk is sometimes a healthy thing to do, or I just learned, hey, I did it this way this time and I'm not going to do it again. So how am I going to do it differently next time?
Right. How about you, Mark?
Well, I love the way you phrased it and said mistakes versus failure. I don't like the word failure because to me that seems so final, but mistakes are temporary. And what Stephanie said, I agree with in terms of, I've a lot of sayings. One of them is you either win or you learn. And if you win, you pat yourself on the back and move forward. If you do not and you make a mistake, then you figure out what the source of it was and how you can correct it for the next time. But I think even upstream from that is a sense of humility. I always believe if you mess up, fess up. Mm-hmm. And you bring it to someone's attention before they find out, if it's you. And I always instill that in my team members, is the safety that, look, I can accept mistakes. What I can't accept is you hiding something from me and I find out later. And then it means I can't trust you. And as we all know, the basis of a good relationship is trust. And so the other thing I'll say is, look, we're going to go big here. This is, if it goes well, it's your idea. And if it fails, it's mine. So I take the risk away from them. And I say, look, it's my job as a leader is, to accept any kind of blame that may come my way because I can handle it. I want to shelter you from it because I want you to swing for the fences. I want you to live up to your full potential. I don't want you to fear failure or fear making a mistake and what that might mean for your career or your your perception on the team. And those are ways that I look at mistakes.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, we have about 15 minutes left. What I want to talk about is, you guys, did you know tomorrow is halfway through Q1 already? Like, I don't even understand where the time is going. I heard this happens when you get old. It really does. But I know a lot of us set goals about 6 weeks ago. So, Gina, where are you at on your goals? And what is your plan to finish out Q1 and really 2023 like you thought it was going to be January 1?
So I'd say my goals are progressing pretty well, although it's funny because actually one of the things on my to-do list is to revamp a couple things. Right now, I don't know if anybody's read the book, The 12-Week Year. So I am working off of that kind of premise and structure of focusing really on 12 weeks and all the daily actions that I'm going to accomplish to be able to hit my goals in 12 weeks. And I can tell as I'm working through some of those that I just don't, the actions aren't resonating. They're not lining up great with what my goals are. So I've got to revamp and tweak a couple of those. And a lot of things don't necessarily have to do with a mortgage specifically, but it is, writing out a certain number of thank yous each week, because I have found that if I am looking for something to be grateful for and thankful for, it really sets my mindset up for success that day. So some of my goals are as kind of narrow as that, of how many thank yous I'm going to write a week. From the mortgage industry, we set our Q1 goals fairly low because it is very much a cyclical business. So really only about a sixth of my annual volume is going to come from Q1. So far we're in good shape. Hope that March is going to be even stronger, but January and February typically aren't great volume months for us.
Yeah, one thing, my company came to me about someone pitching us. They had a robot that did handwritten thank you notes. And so I just wasn't the target audience for it, but eventually I can see that technology coming very mainstream, if not something to look into. But there are robots that write handwritten thank you notes and you can customize them. So food for thought.
I have never heard of that.
No.
Sorry,
Stephanie, where are you on your goals?
Well, due to the extremely frigid temperatures, we are way ahead of our goals this year, which is an awesome way to start the new year. In fact, I think with the revenues that we did in like literally a month, I think we've already achieved like 1/3 of our sales goals for the year. So we really started this year out with a bang. So we fully anticipate to definitely meet our sales goals, but probably to exceed them this year. But in our industry, our business is really kind of hard to predict, because I joke that we kind of sit around waiting for bad stuff to happen to people and businesses, in essence. And a lot of our work is very dependent on the weather. So over the last 2 years, we haven't had a lot of frigid temperatures. We haven't had a lot of heavy rains and flooding. And so our water work was way down, especially last year. Luckily, our firework is up. So that's good. But we kind of are dependent on the climate. So we generally, in our industry, we look for heavy rains in the spring or in the fall. And then there's usually a lot of fires kind of going into October through like January, February, because people are in the house more. They have fireplaces that can catch them. I mean, just people burn candles more, just a lot of reasons why there's more fires in the wintertime. So we're kind of a little bit cyclical, and sometimes it kind of makes that hard to predict. So I usually keep track of all my past business that we've done, and we just kind of average out the numbers and what our sales goals are. But we are kind of in a unique situation when it comes to that.
Nice. How about you, Miss Maki Moussavi?
Well, my goals as a solopreneur kind of fluctuate, and I am not a really big proponent of traditional goal setting. I've really moved away from that since I was in that mode for so long, and that's part of the paradigm shift that I've made. But I do set intentions, and one of my intentions for this year is to do more collaborations with other business owners and other consultants and coaches, just because I think there's really cool opportunities to bring different skill sets together and impact people exponentially. And that has been very, very cool and very on track, doing some things with new groups, new people I haven't done things with before that I think could lead to future opportunities. So that is looking really good.
All right, Mr. Mark.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, midway through the quarter. Wow. Just felt like the holidays were here. But, similar, I've now gone from, corporate America guy, W-2 guy to solopreneur. And I actually have 3 employees, me, myself, and I. And you don't often agree, so I don't know how that works. And so more than just the book, it's a foundation for my broader goal, which is to put the human back in human resources. And to do that through speaking, consulting, and e-learning is really what I want to do. And so I'm building out each of these platforms. The book got done last fall. Happy to report it was a bestseller in 8 of 10 categories on Amazon, and was 3rd in another category, etc. So it's resonating with people, and not everybody's a reader, right, Scott? So some people consume, information in different ways. So some people want someone to speak to them, and some people want, someone to come in and really coach and train, and others want to do it on their own time behind their computer. Now that we've all learned the intricacies of Zoom and life behind a screen, and so I want to provide all those platforms. And so far, I've set some goals, but like Mac said, it's a little less than what I would do if I were running my businesses. Okay, because I feel like I'm the person she's talking to. I am Mr. Type A+ personality, serial overachiever, and recovering perfectionist. And so what I'm doing is being intentional, but trying to give myself more grace throughout this process, so that I really enjoy it. And not just do it because I feel like I have to do it. And I feel like I've made good progress so far, some days better than others. But at the end of every day, I say, did I advance the plot of this story? And if I can put something on the plot every day, then I feel like I stack up enough good days and ultimately achieve my goals at the time they're supposed to be achieved.
I like it. Jessica, I want to push this there. She said her master's thesis looked at how to correct errors, such as an important topic for both the receiver and giver of feedback. That was earlier when we were talking about mistakes. I just wanted to pull that up. All right, listen, we got about 7 minutes left. Scott loves this terrible part of the show where we ask you an icebreaker. Scott, we have 1 minute only answers, so don't go deep on this. Go fun on this. So ask your icebreaker. Everyone has 1 minute to answer, or I will cut you off.
Okay, it's going to go deep, but it'll be good because Gina's wearing Valentine's Day stuff and Chiefs gear. So when you go to a stadium, could be baseball, could be football, could be soccer, is there a dish that you really like to get at a stadium for food?
Nachos with jalapenos on them.
Where any sports place in particular, or at all stadiums?
Pretty much any venue that is selling concession food, junk food. It's going to be, whether it's the high school basketball game with the old style little pump.
Yeah.
Or the Chiefs game, which they make more special and charge 4 times the amount. I'm going with the nachos.
Right. All right, Stephanie, what's the stadium and what is the dish?
I would say Royal Stadium has to be the hot dogs. I have to get a hot dog with ketchup and mustard on it.
Got
That's
it.
my go-to.
And mustard, just not mustard, or not just ketchup. You do both.
Have to have both. Yeah.
All right, Maki, what about yourself? What is the stadium and what is the dish you will be ordering?
Oh, well, my favorite stadium is the K-State Stadium, football stadium, because I was fortunate enough to be there when K-State was just becoming really, really, really good at football. So it was awesome. And I have to go with the same answer, like nachos with jalapenos, because you just don't have that same cheap, disgusting combination anywhere else, like other than a stadium. And for some reason, it just hits the spot when you're at a football game.
So you had a very successful program run at K-State. So you tailgated a good amount. What were some of your favorite things to cook when you were tailgating? And I say this because as a KU person, we didn't tailgate. So.
Yeah. Gosh, well, I was a student, so like we weren't really the tailgaters. And when we go now, it's typically somebody else that we know. But I am fortunate. A lot of the people that I went to college with are like barbecue competitors. And so if they're there, we join them and they're grilling all kinds of amazing things. So we just get to be leeches and enjoy that.
That's awesome. Mark, what about yourself? What's the stadium and what is the dish?
Well, you may have guessed this, Scott, but it would be Allen Fieldhouse, home of the Jayhawks. And to Stephanie's point, there's nothing better than a bad hot dog and a sports event. And when you're in Allen Fieldhouse with, over 50 years of, tradition and it feels like an old gym, there's just something that adds to the flavor of it, but it's just got to be mustard. I grew up loving ketchup on a hot dog, but then I changed years ago mustard, and I have to have mustard. But if I can find relish, I'll put relish on it, and that will just make the experience even that much more memorable. I love that hot dog. Gotta have it.
So, Aaron, what about yourself? And I do have a question to throw a little bone at the KC Current. When you went to the game, did you have any food? But overall, what is your favorite dish to get at a stadium?
I only went to one Current game and I drank.
I don't know. I assume you probably didn't even eat when you were there. You probably just had a beer.
I drank a lot.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite is if you've ever been to the Chicago Cubs games, they have nachos, but in these helmets. You get to take the helmet home, the nacho helmet home. It's really good. And you get a helmet.
And if you drink enough, like me, you'd probably just wash it out in the water fountain and put it on.
I didn't do that. That sounds like a Scott Havens thing to do for sure. 100%.
Yeah, I'd probably take my beers and put it in there.
How about you, Scott?
The popcorn Allen Fieldhouse, but in Royal Stadium, a hot dog with mustard, and then the Chiefs is French fries to sober up from the start. So usually that's
one per stadium.
Yeah, I just went all over.
I like it. Okay, listen, thank you so much to our panel for coming on. This was such a great show. If you want to connect with any of our panelists, please go to LinkedIn. They are all tagged on there. You can buy their books on Amazon. If you can't find them, ask them on LinkedIn how to do it. And thank you so much to the Bank of Blue Valley and to Burns & McDonnell for sponsoring. Scott, thanks for being such a great co-host. And find us tomorrow at the Chiefs Parade. Go Chiefs. We'll see you later.